Hello there, World of Tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Droodles Blitz, and in today's video, we are going to be taking a look at this vehicle right in front of you, the Minotauro. This is the Tier 10 Italian auto-reloading tank destroyer that will be part of the newest tech tree added into the game. Very weird-looking vehicle. To me, it looks like a Progetto 65 hull, kind of like a Rinoceronte hull as well mixed in there. And then the turret just reminds me of like a T10 E4. Doesn't this just really look like an Italian E4, but I'm very excited to try out this vehicle when it does eventually come into the game as a tech tree line. Now, previously, I did not have the statistics of this line available, but as you can see today, I do. So we're going to be breaking into its potential armor profile, its top speed, mobility, and most importantly, the statistics of its gun. Let's start off with the hit points and the armor. It has 1900 hit points. Now, I'm not sure if this is with hit point boost, and actually I can check on this replay really quick here how much HP it has. That guy's also running it with 1900, but I would guess that that's not fully upgraded because usually, as you can see, like for the 4005 and the 183, it's 1908. So I would guess that if you're actually running the hit point boost on this vehicle, you're going to be sitting over 2000 hit points, meaning that, yeah, this is definitely more of a heavily armored tank destroyer. Wargaming usually only gives 1900 to the tank destroyers, a little bit more aggressive, meant to be in the front line. And we can very clearly verify that when it comes to the armor. Its turret is 240 millimeters thick. It's also completely angled, which means that it's probably upwards of 280. And when it comes to the hull, it's 270 millimeters thick, and you can also see it's quite angled. So I actually think that this turret is going to be quite strong. If you're running enhanced armor and you get that up to 260, plus the fact that it's completely rounded, I think that the armor on this tank could be very strong. I'm not sure, because obviously all I have is statistics on paper to look at, but at least on paper it seems like the front of this tank is going to be very capable of getting a lot of bounces. The side armor as well is quite good. It's 110 millimeters thick on the turret and the side of the vehicle itself, and it is slightly angled. That means that you actually can't HE the sides unless you're using a vehicle like the 183 or the FE2 and 5B, which is actually pretty solid. I think that it's going to be a very well armored tank. When it comes to concealment, it also further bolsters the whole armored aspect because it's only 24%. If you look at 24%, you even compare that to a grill's like 40%. So yeah, this is definitely not going to be a campy style tank destroyer. When we take a look at its top speed, it goes 34 kilometers per hour, which is not very fast, which is quite clearly known as we talked about the tier 9 and tier 8. This line is not very fast at all. Reverse, ooh, only 12. Yeah, it does really remind me like an E4 now, as the E4 only goes reverse at what, 10? So yeah, maybe they're gonna give it like super speed boost as a consumable or something, but 12 at reverse is very rare to find for a new vehicle added into the game. A lot of the tanks we've seen are 15 or 20 nowadays, like the 60 TP and the Type 71. But yeah, that's pretty bad on its reverse speed. As well, the power to weight is 13.1. If we take a look at a vehicle like the T10 E3, it's sitting at the worst power to weight currently in tier 10 with 13.7. So judging that the Minotauro is just around that 13 area, it's probably going to have one of the worst power to weights in tier 10. Another thing I noticed about the Minotauro is its awful traverse speed, only 24 degrees a second. That's terrible. If we take a look at the E4's traverse speed and we go over here, the E4 sits at 34 degrees a second and the turret traverse is 17.01. Back to the Minotauro. Oh boy, 15.64 degrees on the turret and 24 on the hull. This seems like a very, very slow tank. If you want my opinion on how this vehicle is going to play, you're going to have a lot of frontal armor, like a lot, but you're going to have really, really poor mobility, really awful traverse speed to make up for the frontline, you know, hull capabilities it has. So as soon as you get to this thing's side, it seems like really any lightly armored mobile tank, you know, a light tank, a medium, even maybe a mobile heavy like the E6 or the Object 260 is probably going to be able to absolutely nuke the sides of this vehicle. I should also point out that the rear of this tank is only 50, meaning that most high explosive shells, in fact all from tier 10, is going to penetrate the rear of it. Do keep that in mind. Now, when we take a look at its horsepower, yeah, only 750. It really does not have a lot for a vehicle that weighs 60 tons. So, enough with that aside, let's take a look at the part that I've really been intrigued onto, the gun. It has 2,028 damage per minute, but this is an auto reloader, so the DPM that we have on paper isn't necessarily correct. We're going to pull out the calculator and see what the actual DPM of this tank is by taking a look at the third shell. It takes 7.67 seconds to load in the third shell, and its intra-clip, where is the intra-clip? 3.53 seconds. So it is 490 damage per shot. And then we have to do a well, actually, I don't need the 490 damage per shot. First, we're going to do the 7.67 seconds, and then we're going to add that with the 3.53 second intra-clip. It's an 11.2 second reload. So we do 60 divided by 11.62, and we are going to get 5.16 rounds a minute. Multiply that by the 490 alpha the vehicle has, and it's going to be sitting at 2,530 DPM with single shot DPM. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. But it's not great either. But you do gotta remember that this is an auto reloader. So when you're fighting, let's say as a somewhat frontline heavy, sitting at 2,500 DPM is not bad, because if somebody pushes you, you then have another almost 1,000 damage able to output from the vehicle with Shell 2 and Shell 3. In total, this tank is able to deal 1,470 damage 7 seconds from the first shell. So I actually think that the gun seems pretty well balanced on it. You have pretty decent DPM as a single shot. Obviously, it's not ridiculously high values like some other tank destroyers, but you need to realize that as Wargaming has clearly balanced this vehicle so far, this is not going to be a campy type tank destroyer. This seems to be like a frontline TD that is more relying on its hull down capabilities, because it does come with 7 degrees of gun depression, as you'll notice. Dispersion as well is absolutely awful. 0.422 might be just the worst dispersion value I've ever seen. We need to go take a look at the 183 really quick. Where the heck is this hunka-blonga 183? Here we are, statistics. The 183 sits at 0.350, but I am running accuracy on it. But even then, 0.350, you know what, let's take a look at what it is without the actual accuracy on. So let's go over here. I'm pretty sure it's still more accurate. It is. I mean, yeah, it's less than 0.4 with the 183. So if we go back to the statistics of the tank, it is now sitting at 0.389. Wow. The accuracy on this vehicle is dookie, like absolute dookie. And the aiming time as well is absolute trash. Ooh. So this is going to be a very inaccurate vehicle. Even if there is not equipment equipped on this tank as what we're currently looking at, it's going to be really inaccurate. Do keep that in mind. So the final thing to look at is the traverse limit of the gun, which is 45 degrees to the left and 45 degrees to the right, which means it's kind of like an E4. So overall, what will I say about this tank? How can we expect it to perform when it does come out? If you want my opinion, currently it's in testing. I do think it will be buffed a little bit. I could be wrong, but I'm guessing that the accuracy will get buffed, and I kind of want the accuracy to get buffed. I think everything about this tank seems okay, but I do want an accurate gun when I'm in an auto reloader, because having a 20-second reload for your first shell means that really that shell's not an option unless you're being rushed and you need to shoot it. What you're going to be doing is using shell 1 and shell 2 most of the time. But if you're missing your shots and you've got 0.422 dispersion and this awful aiming time, then that's going to kind of ruin the whole point of an auto reloader. Like, the Cron's really accurate, Progetto's got the mobility, and even though it's not that accurate, you can still use the gun with that mobility, and it's got a fairly quick reload. But I just right now see this tank really struggling with that alpha and the accuracy combined. But that is a very nice alpha. 490 is actually great, so I can't wait to try this tank out. Let me know what you guys think about the statistics of the Minotauro in the comments down below. I think right now, though, it does need a little bit of a rework on just the accuracy. Everything else seems fine. We're going to have to take a look at its armor when it does get released. Its turret seems great on an angle. Its upper plate seems really solid, and we're going to have to see how the lower plate is, but probably weak. But anyways, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you'd like to see more like it, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below, as I always try to get out fast information first. But other than that, I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.